It's been 30 years. Well, 31 if you're trying to be exact, but so 30 years. We've been waiting to find out what happened after the end, if you want to call it, and I still do consider it the end of Spider-Man, the animated series. We found out that they were going to do Spider-Man 94, but the writer for Spider-Man, the animated series writer and creator, has nothing to do with it. Gonna be somebody new. Phil said, okay, you know what? Awfully, we'll give it a shot. Then we found out they're going to skip past how Spider-Man found Mary Jane. And well, the book is officially out, and all I could say is we waited 30 years for this. Oh, great. Just so freaking great. Whole bunch of variant covers and all of that, but this is what we waited for. Yeah, that's it. Uh-huh. Ay. So the book starts off with somebody sending a masked individual named Kaine to hunt down Spider-Man. Kaine is calling this person their father and leaping around and all of that. And we see Spider-Man swinging with Mary Jane, and he's talking about how, for the first time in months, I can honestly say I'm happy. Mary Jane is back. We're finally together, and nobody is ever going to take her away again, unless, of course, they introduce Paul. But that would be something they might do. Let's move on. Right, so he and Mary Jane swings down there, they're happy, they kiss. She says to him, Peter Parker, you sweet man, I have something to ask you. And he says, anything. And she says, will you marry me? And he's, Now, here's the thing, yeah? They continue to go on about, what's wrong. I talk about how, he was fighting the goblin. She fell into a time dilation vortex. Then she came back. He got married to be some kind of hydro clone created by Miles Warren. And then that clone died. And he went off looking for her in the multiverse, I guess you could say, with Madam Web. And then after months of searching, of facing unspeakable horrors, I've brought you home. And there was a little tidbit here that says, a tale we'll tell eventually. No. You need to tell that tale first. Because all of this seems really ridiculous without having to see what happened. What they went through, what was the struggle, what did they face, how did they overcome it? Because had you done that, you understand me, you could have told a story during that where, he found her, he told her about what happened and all that and the other, so she have an understanding of what's going on and all of this. And then, they could have, reconciled while they were there, decided they want to get married. When they came back now, all of that has been dealt with. But when you drop this here and she's asking him to marry her, and then he is like, well, and then you get this whole big thing of what happened. And again, the art doesn't look terrible, but I don't like how they made Spider-Man look. I find that looks terrible, but it just doesn't work without the very thing that you need. It's like eating a hot dog without the hot dog, so it's just bread. That's it. That's all this is, just bread. You're not getting any of the actual meat to find out what is going on. So then, Mary Jane flips out, and Peter is like, we were already married, Mary Jane, so I don't see why. And she's like, you don't see, Peter? That wasn't me. And he's, I know, and she's, but what? And then she storms off and slams the door and gone. And then, like, oh, well, the old Parker lock runs through form. This doesn't make any kind of sense. She isn't even acting like Mary, to be honest with you, but that's something you're gonna see throughout this thing. Regards to it. Without this story to build upon, this just seems very hollow and to be with you very, very stupid. That's the whole thing about it. And of course, this Kaine person is watching them, right? So we get to it now, and it turns out that the person who is Kaine's father is Ezekiel Sims. And if you have no idea who Ezekiel Sims is, as far as I recollect, I don't think he was ever in the Spider-Man animated series. But you might know Ezekiel Sims from the Madam Web movie. Oh, wait, you didn't watch the Madam Web movie? Well, nobody did, but that was the guy in the Madam Web movie was trying to kill Madam Web and the other Spider Girls who weren't Spider Girls. And actually, I can't really tell because I've never fully watched the movie myself, but that's the closest you're going to get for this person. That's what it is. And apparently, Ezekiel Sims is like some kind of cocooned individual who needs to absorb life force from things to sustain him and all of that. And, it's just really, really ridiculous. That's what's going on. I've already been, in like some kind of cocoon state for like, 6 months or something. And then Kaine brings some kind of vermin rat man thing to him who tries to eat him. And then, and he sucks the life out of him. That's what's going on. Then we get back to what's going on with Mary Jane and them, and Aunt May is home there. She gets a knock on the door, and Mary Jane is there, looking pissed, and she storms upstairs and pulls the covers off of her sleeping Peter because you know Aunt May was saying that Peter was up all night looking for her. He's so worried, and I'm like, um, why would he be up all night looking for her? She stormed off right in front of him. She doesn't have super speed. He could have easily caught up to her. Apart from that, he knows where she would go. She would go home. Where else would she go? Now that I think about it, didn't they have an apartment together or something? I mean, he and the other murder, I don't know, it didn't been months. Whatever happened to that, but whatever. So I don't know what he's been up all night searching for. And then he comes home and sleeps. Because that's how you look for the woman you love, apparently. I don't know. And then she's all, what is wrong with you? After all we went through to get back here, all the nightmares we faced, the obstacles we overcame, you know what I mean? Really good. If we saw some of that, we'd understand. We'd be able to say, okay, they went through this. This is really amazing. This is what's going on. But we haven't seen any of it. We just have your word for it. For all we know, you could have just gone through, you could have just probably encountered one person who was just like, well, that's that, and then moved on. We don't know. That's the truth of it. We don't know. And then she's, how can you turn your back on me, on us? And he's, I'm not turning my back on us. It's just what, Peter, please, whatever it is. And he tells her, like, being deceived like that, believing she was you, loving her. I know it makes no sense, MJ, but I'm afraid that. And she's like, that I'm not real either. Oh, Peter, in your heart, in the depths of your soul, all that. And then he's like, of course I do. It's not just that. I watched her die, Mary Jane. I watched you die. It tore me apart. It makes me so afraid that it will happen again. And I can't do it, MJ. I can't lose you again. And then this MJ says something that, MJ, Mary Jane should say. This is what this was the one part I will say, okay. She says, you don't think I feel the same way? You're Spider-Man. You face death every day and it terrifies me. But our love has to be bigger than our fear. It has to be stronger. And you see, this is what I keep saying is needed. Mary Jane doesn't need to be jackpot. And then I believe somebody told me that earlier on, sometime a few years ago, she was the Iron Spider for a while for the months. I don't remember that, honestly. or Venom, which make even less sense than anything. No, Mary Jane is Mary Jane. Mary Jane is Peter's rock. She holds him. That's what happens. But when you only care about ruining Spider-Man's life, this is what you get. So she then gets down on one knee and asks him to marry her again. And then he says, yes, yes, yes. And she's best decision of your life, Tiger. And then they come and tell Aunt May that they're getting married. And, because they were married and all of that goes on. We then come, when you take him fighting Molten Man, which, it goes over the way it goes over. That's about it. But then as he's leaving, he says that, he got this weird feeling, this unsettling feeling that he's being watched. But if someone was out there stalking me, my spider sense would really be tingling, and it's not. It would kind of look like it was. And you see Kaine on the I'm on the roof there watching, and apparently somebody's watching Kaine. So they invite um, you know, MJ's Aunt Anna over for dinner, and she comes there and she doesn't like Peter Parker. She never has that fear or that. And then she comes over and says, so how long will you two be living here? You're a husband now, Peter. You need to provide for your wife, not freeload off your poor aunt, which is really what he's doing. Which is really what he's doing. He's freeloading. But then they jump in, and then MJ jumped and said, don't let her get under your skin, Tiger. I don't think we'll be here all that long. And Anna Peter's looking for teaching work. And she considers teaching a very admirable profession, but hardly a lucrative one. That said, I suppose better than taking photos for Jonah Jameson's tawdry newspaper. Now, they did in the comics where Peter Parker was a teacher for a little while. It didn't last. Again, I think Peter Parker could start his own company or run his own business like that and get it done really well. He could incorporate it into things like Spider-Man. I mean, yes, in the comics, they did make him a billionaire at one point, and they then threw that away because that's all they seem to know to do, which is just destroy everything Spider-Man touches. That's what's going on. So they sit down to dinner, and Peter's toasting and all of that and all of this. And then all of a sudden, Kaine busts through the window looking for them, and you see the faces of all of them. Aunt May looks terrified. I don't know. And Anna looks like she's ready to throw hands. Peter looks like he got cut off in the middle of making some kind of declaration speech, and MJ is freaked out. So he busts in there shouting Peter Parker, and then, kidnaps Peter, telling him, his father wants him. And then he talks about, yes, you are indeed the one, the totem of totems. I can feel it. The power of the spider like a wave washing through me. How fascinating. So yeah, apparently now they're introducing the whole spider totems nonsense that they did, which relate to the whole web of life and all these different spider people showing up out of the wazoo. That's what they're doing now. Like I said, the minute they started to bring in all them different spider people, Spider-Man became less relevant. Because Spider-Man is relevant because Spider-Man is Spider-Man. That's it. He's unique. We started introducing all these different versions of spider people all over the place. That's how we ended up with characters like Miles Morales, who till this day they have no idea what to do. So of course, Peter lets Kaine take him, go out there, punches him out, transforms into Spider-Man because again he keeps his spider costume underneath his clothes, which something he did in the series. So that's going on there. Yeah. And then Kaine hits him with a couple blows and tears part of his masks off, then beat him down because that's supposed to be how things work. And then when for some reason, again, the whole spider thing, when Peter Parker starts to have his emotions, he starts to form like some kind of fog-like thing, and you see Mary Jane's face and all kind of thing, and then Kaine starts to get affected by it, and he's like, well, what is that? What am I seeing, feeling? I've never And then, he gets the shock. So Spider-Man starts to beat him up, and then he's like, no, your emotions, like psychic knives. So apparently, because of this connection to some kind of spider totem thing, Kane could could literally get um, you know, Spider-Man's emotions formulate in him and like like psychic knife, as he said. He gets to see the emotions of kind of thing and feel what Spider-Man is feeling. So then he's like slicing through my mind. It hurts, oh father, it hurts, and he runs off. Yeah. Clearly this guy was really well put together. Okay. He sunders off, and again somebody's watching him. The police are there and they come back with Peter Parker. Mary Jane goes over there, hugs him, and then he tells her, I thought it wasn't this target. He thought he could kidnap me, with draw out Spider-Man, but Spidey found us, save me. And then Aunt Anna jumped on, now you listen to me, Peter Parker. If you have any hope of staying married to my niece, you'll have to stop this idiotic, irresponsible association with that masked lunatic. And then Mary Jane snaps and tells her to shut up, and tell her, this is the man I love, the man I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And if you can't treat him with the respect he deserves, then you can leave right now. And she's, well, that can easily be arranged. Again, she's not acting really the way Mary Jane would have acted. I'm not saying that Mary Jane wouldn't have gotten angry. I don't think she would have gone up and the whole shut up and all kind of thing. Now, if this could have been explained, had you said that what they had gone through, we had shown us that she kind of grown as a character, fine. But we're not getting that, and that's what's happening. So then we go back there, and Ezekiel Sims is there with Kaine, and he's pissed off. He attacks him, sucks the life out of him. I told him that, he has a whole bunch of clone babies, things of Kaine that he could activate at any time to hunt down Spider-Man. And that's it. That's the first issue. We waited 30 years for this. Now, I'm going to give credit where credit do certain things. The art does not look bad. The art actually looks good. Peter Parker's face, however, doesn't look like Peter Parker's face, and I don't know what they were trying to do with that there. Doesn't look good. Mary Jane looks a little like herself at certain times, but not completely okay. But overall, the art does look good. I do like when Mary Jane said that, talking about how, she's scared of the Spider-Man, but they can't let fear rule them and all that. Okay. But overall, I was not impressed with this book, because leaving out the very thing that is needed to move the story along is just really stupid. And I'm trying to act like, we're supposed to just jump into this. You've introduced Ezekiel Sims, you're introducing Spider Totems, all things you're set it up for, without actually going through what has happened before. These people were growing as characters and you did nothing about that, and for the thing that people wanted to see. Overall, I'm going to give my final rating for this. I'm going to give Spider-Man 94 issue 1. I'm going to give this a 2 out of 5. Like I said, the art was good and I like the part with Mary Jane and that, okay. But other than that, the story, in my opinion, did not hit home at all, and I don't see any reason, way, shape, or form for this book to be recommendable to anybody. Maybe it might get better, we don't know, but that's my rating for this one. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. If you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell to be notified every time I put a new video. And I shall see you all next time. Take care.